Josh, do you know
Oh,
what
oh.
imposter syndrome is?
I'm pretty well aware of what imposter syndrome is, but that just comes with the fact of sometimes being like accidentally internet famous.
Well, from yesterday on, my imposter syndrome has imposter syndrome.
Oh, okay. What's the cause of this?
I was watching a talk on imposter syndrome.
Okay, was this like a psychology talk that you were listening to? Should I be concerned
No
for you?
tech talk. It
It
was
was a
about
tech talk.
technology,
Oh,
programming
okay. Oh,
related. So, well, now my imposter syndrome has imposter syndrome. Cue the music.
hey guys, I'm your host Josh, and I would like to welcome you to No Tux Allowed, the wonderful show where this other guy named Bigpod, wearing this beautiful grayish green shirt, where I'm wearing a proper gray shirt, uh, is going to join me as I rant about this 3D printer I just bought. How's it going, Bigpod?
Going great. I hate smart TVs.
Oh, I imagine that you do. So, because I've prepared myself for this rant. It's going to take it's going to take me a little bit. Let's hear what's going on with smart TVs and what's so smart about them.
Nothing. There is nothing smart about them. So, well, the old TV, my family's old TV died, like during the night,
Oh,
and it was the same day we had Tom Lawrence on. So the last episode recording, and you can guess everything got right to the wire, because
of course.
they have to buy a new no, new TV right away so they can watch TV. And guess who
Yep.
has to set it up? This guy.
Probably yeah, the guy that does a lot of stuff with computers.
Yes, they bring in the TV. It is Philips with what's the operating system called? Titan OS.
Yeah, you mentioned that to me, and I had to Google that one because
Yeah.
apparently it's a new TV operating system. It is Titan OS.
Yes.
It's
It's a European independent operating system for smart TVs based on Linux, apparently. And it is very, very, very questionable quality, if you ask me. Like, just when I turn on the TV, the first thing it asked me to pair the remote. And,
okay.
and you want to know something? To pair the
What's that?
remote had to already work,
Oh boy.
which it did
Oh,
because
okay.
it used IR. It just didn't use
Yeah.
Bluetooth. And then you try and pair it, and it didn't work. Then I plugged in the ISP's box for IPTV,
Yep.
which you can guess how that went. Horrible.
Uh, I can only imagine because here in America we don't have IPTV services as prevalent as the EU.
So basically, the box was already set up because from the old TV. All I had to do was plug it in the
Yep.
HDMI cable. Nothing
Theoretically.
special, theoretically. It had first before I even could do that, I had to log into internet because it needs to be connected to internet.
Of course.
Thankfully, I'm not an idiot, so I didn't use Wi-Fi because Wi-Fi is pain. I use an Ethernet cable. Plugged it in. Guess what? No IP.
Oh boy.
He didn't want to work with the HCP, so I had to try a couple of times before the HCP worked. Yes, the HCP is a problem in my network. Like when I go beyond the switch in my room, DHCP doesn't work, period, on IPv4. On IPv6 it does work, just not on
That
IPv4.
that is interesting. You don't have like multiple DHCP servers running on your
Just
network, do
one.
you?
Just
Just
one.
one?
And it is specifically when you go beyond this one specific switch. It's a smart switch, but it should still work. Yes.
That is an interesting issue with the networking. So
It's an amazing experience. So the reason I made TV work is because I made it work over IPv6.
okay,
And
I
then
know that
later
you
I
and
got
I
it to
have
work IPv4.
yeah. I know you and I have lots of experiences getting things to work on IPv6. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's a challenge.
Like from
So
like purely data protect allow IPv4. So when I then plug in the IPTV box from my internet service provider, because they also offer IPTV, it asks me on what port the box is, and I
makes
very
sense.
confidently select HDMI 1 because I plugged it in HDMI 1. No device detected.
Oh, did we get an HDMI handshake failure?
Retry,
Yep.
retry, retry. Set then it will happen later. So I click the later button. It it went through went through the setup, all that, like some other stuff that I went through quickly, like the picture and all that. Knew I'm gonna be setting it up later anyway. Better. I clicked the input button, selected HDMI 1. What do you think happened?
Let me guess. It worked.
It worked perfectly. And then the TV went, there is a new device detected. Set it
Of
up,
course.
please. And then I tried to set up the picture because, of course, there was no, also importantly, there was no way to set up like custom profile for the image, like contrast and all that. It
Oh,
only options were the auto magic stuff and just couple of profiles and auto magic,
okay.
which
So it
means
it
horrible
it
post
probably
processing.
loaded. Yeah, it loaded a default profile where it just looked wrong.
Yes. For example, the faces were very not facey. You could see them, but they
Yeah.
were like wrong. Like
Yeah.
everything was crisp besides faces. So I went to the settings, got through about 15 menus because first I had to find settings, which was a challenge of its own. Got to about 15 menus to get to the contrast, which I set, get to post processing, which I disabled completely. I hate that thing. And then faces started looking kind of normal. And then I went to record the episode.
Of course.
And then I got a whole list of complaints about the TV. Like, too bright, too contrasty still. It's weird sounding because guess what I forgot? To turn
You
off
forgot.
audio post processing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I went on to adventure of going through billion menus to disable all the post processing and set everything up. Well, now that it's set up, although I still complain about me having to set it up, it's a pretty good TV. It's 4K QLED, so yeah, it has to be pretty good.
I mean, the technology itself is pretty good.
Yeah,
Software just sucks.
software is just smart TV software. What
Yeah.
do you
Yeah.
expect?
Yeah.
And then I went on to discovering the applications
Oh
because
boy.
I wanted to see if I could maybe set up some of my own or like do some shit because I'm like me. Customization is kind of my thing. Still, even though I don't even change the wallpaper, I would like to do custom stuff if I can. And since it is a Linux based operating, I thought maybe I could load an application on it or something.
Maybe.
Yeah, no.
Oh, they locked it down. Okay.
So there is, first of all, there is no way to install applications that I could find. So second of all, applications are basically web pages.
Okay.
It's HTML5.
Okay. So,
Interesting choice. Linux.
yeah. Which I can sort of understand from like a support perspective for
Yes.
because I believe using HTML5 as the application standard is also handled by like WebOS, which is what LG uses for their
Yeah,
smart TVs.
remember back in the
And
day,
then
even iPhone apps were web pages.
I I'm I
The first
think
iPhone.
I think there's another TV OS that uses HTML5 for the applications,
Yeah.
which makes sense for a TV that you're intending to plug into the internet anyways.
Yeah.
Just kind of sucks that you have to do that to get some of these applications to actually work. When
Uh,
theoretically you shouldn't have to.
yeah. Guess what application isn't there? And I was like hoping it would be, because then I would have a reason to set up something like that.
I'm going to guess YouTube.
No, YouTube is there.
Oh,
So
okay.
is Disney Plus, so is Prime Video, so is basically every streaming service you can think of that operates in Europe. But there is one thing that wasn't there. There was also Plex application,
Of
and
course.
my internet service provider's uh, application for TV, so I could watch without the box. The same application I use on my phone, the same type.
Yep.
But there wasn't an application for Jellyfin.
Oh, do you have a Jellyfin server too?
No, but I would have a reason to set it up.
Oh. Yeah, that does kind of suck. But at the same time, though, Titan OS being fairly new and Jellyfin only having so many developer resources to commit to something, I don't necessarily blame them for not making the app at least yet.
Well, there's been a request to make an app for years now, as far as I remember.
Yeah. That said, do you have like a standard web browser on the TV?
Yes, so I could use that, yes.
Yeah.
But like them certain buttons don't work and all that.
Good point. Good point.
Like for more than a year there is a request for Titan OS support.
Okay, well, at that point, then it's really just a question of resources and if somebody's willing to commit time to it.
Yeah.
Which I think for like most I think Jellyfin's like API is actually very well documented. Last I looked, so
Probably.
maybe you can brush up on your HTML5 and you can write an app for your smart TV.
No, I don't need it. Let's be clear, I don't need it. I was just like, it gave me a reason to set up another application. That's it.
Yep, yep.
I don't even know what to
That
put on that server, but I'll just have a server then.
yeah. I mean,
Literally, that's me.
I run a Jellyfin server, and yes, I have loaded a bunch of Linux ISOs on it.
Really.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I'm not gonna say what distributions are on there.
Okay, then let's look into what kind of shall I say troubles? I don't know. You have with your 3D printing.
Okay, okay. Be ready for a bit of a rant here, right? So, for some context here, for the people that are might not know this, but I have over 17 years of experience working in plastic injection molding. I've been working in that industry for longer than 3D printing has been like a household thing, right? So, I think I know a thing or two about plastics. But I'd never really messed around with 3D printer until like I just got looking around and I saw like this random pop up on like my Amazon store page for the Elegoo Centauri Carbon, which is a 3D printer that has all the bells and whistles at an appropriate level of quality for the price. That's how I can best describe it. So, I have a link to this printer in the show notes, as well as what I find to be like the most acceptable form of a filament dryer. Because some of these plastics, you need to be able to get the moisture out of them before you go to run them through the extruder. I'll get to that in a minute. But let's talk about this 3D printer, right? I've already clocked in 140 hours on this printer of just active usage time, which is a lot. Most of it messing around with, making up product ideas, like, this rather simplistic plastic box that I have, if you're watching the video. But Bigpod, I don't know if you notice this, but if I hold the box just right here to see the reflections on the light, do you see how the texture changes?
Yeah, I mean, like it's made of 3 pieces or three different plastics.
It's 2 pieces, the same exact spool of plastic.
Oh wow!
I double checked with the slicer program, the program that you use to write the G code for the machine.
That's the only thing I know about 3D
And
printers. There is a slicer. And then
Yeah.
what slicer are you using?
I'm using what they call the Orca slicer, which is basically like the free and open source one that everybody has been basing their proprietary variants of slicers off of. It's literally Orca slicer is an open source fork of the Bamboo slicer, and then everybody else is forking off of Orca.
Huh.
Now, Orca, perfectly fine as a slicer program, right? But I'm still trying to figure out why it changes the print pattern midway through like this deck box, because it's repeatable. Because you can see it on this larger one, even though this is brighter colors, so it's not going to be as noticeable in the video. And I don't know if like the YouTube post processing will actually be able to show our video viewers what's going on with it.
I can see it slightly on our video.
Yeah. So I don't know how well that's going to show up, but of course, Bigpod, you're definitely going to be able to see it on like the local copy of the video I'm going to send you, because I record it way too high of a bit rate.
Yeah.
But anyways, I've been messing around with that. I've also discovered like this project called Multiboard, which I've printed off like their whole demo pack with like all their little bells and whistles that they include with it, where you got like little buckets, little shelves, screws and stuff like that, which I don't know if I'm going to go down a rabbit hole of organizing everything through multiboard and Gridfinity, but I guess I have options for that now. But let's talk about like the troubles that I have with this printer, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to my screen here, and I'm going to show you this little web interface. This is the web interface for my 3D printer. It is here. It is active. I can hit buttons and things happen. So I've got that. Now, when this printer is actually in an operation, like say is doing something, this whole web UI just no longer works.
Interesting. So it is on the same computer, and it's like the control, and it's literally control is too much for web UI.
Yeah, while the printer is in operation, I can't even like toggle this little light here that you can see for like the video feed. I can't toggle the light. I can't make any adjustments in this. I can't like manage any of these preloaded files that are on the printer right now for like printing projects.
Can you at least see the print through the monitoring camera?
Yeah, like this is a monitoring camera. Right there is like the whole build plate for it right now.
Does at least camera work during the print?
Yes.
Or do you have to...
The camera does work. And the camera is also supposedly able to record the print as well. Guess what's also not working?
So where did you buy this?
I bought this off of Amazon's website, so I could pay a lower shipping fee. You can also buy it directly from Elegoo's web store, which so you have like two options. I think like the base price of the unit is actually cheaper from Elegoo, but they charge more for shipping.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, uh, it goes a little bit further too because I also hopped into the Elegoo Discord support because that's how they run their support channels is entirely through Discord.
Great.
Yeah. So I went through and I just started scrolling like their little Discord forum for like issues and support, and I notice a request for source code in compliance with the GPL. Because it turns out this printer uses a fork of Clipper, which is GPL licensed open source code for 3D printers. It's Clipper with a K, if you're going to be looking this up. Now, obviously, the GPL does give any users the right to request source code. This request has been open for, let's see, when's the first post on this thread? Scroll. Discord, please just load entire threads. That way I can just hit the home button on my keyboard and just see the very initial post. Still scrolling. This was posted on August 7th, 2025.
Okay,
on,
yeah.
What is more or less their official forum. Now, and they found this was discovered because Elegoo has actually done, some proper things by pushing commits upstream towards Clipper to, fix things. And they reference this model printer a few times in those commits. But they don't actually publish the firmware for the printer. So it's not in compliance. Like, at all. So that spawned this project called Open Centauri, which is more or less an open source working group to reverse engineer this printer and get it working. So I've been tracking that project as well. But it's led me down like this rabbit hole of Elegoo is just one of those companies that makes a perfectly fine piece of hardware. But anything relating to software, they absolutely suck at. Like, absolutely. For example, like, I got a firmware update on the printer to supposedly fix, like, a couple issues, including the web UI. Well, the firmware update also caused the printer to segfault as soon as I turned on the hot end, which is the hot end of the extruder on the thing that actually melts the plastic filament. Yeah. So as soon as that would turn on, it would just crash the whole thing. Which, thankfully, after many hours of figuring out how to reset this printer, because there's no way to just roll back an update, like, at all. So I had to pull off the bottom panel, actually hit like a jumper to just factory reset the printer. Which is something I shouldn't have to do on something that advertises that it's ready right out of the box.
Yeah.
And it also advertises a very fast print speed. So this printer is like a Core XY printer. So what that basically means is that it's basically in like an enclosed cube, and the extruder itself is what moves on an X and Y axis as well as an up and down Z axis. Now they advertise that this can move 500 millimeters per second. I have yet to see that. Now, I don't know where they reached that number, but I've been mostly using PLA, which is basically like the same kind of plastic that everybody uses for 3D printing, because it's a very easy plastic to work with because it melts very nicely, and it can take to shapes relatively well. The only issue with PLA is tensile strength. That's really it, which is why you don't really see it outside of 3D printing. So, at this point, I would like to talk about plastics.
Go ahead.
Now, PLA is a type of plastic. All plastics are polymers. Well, 98% of them are all polymers, which means that they're also organic materials, because you cannot have a polymer that is not organic. Just a fun fact. Now, because that is a true statement, you will see filament companies advertise that PLA is biodegradable.
Okay.
They're really stretching that phrase, because it will take 1,000 years for your PLA plastic to actually be fully degraded. Where the common definition of biodegradable in like regards to anything else is in days, not years.
Yeah.
So, sorry, PLA is not biodegradable. It's also not accepted by many recycling facilities. Like, I had trouble because, I decided I was going to, just look up who can I send like this PLA plastic to. Now, bear in mind, I have industrial connections with recyclers for plastic because of my extensive experience in, working in plastics. I know where I can send stuff like ABS, nylon, PET, polypropylene. I know where I can send all this stuff. But not PLA. You know why? Because PLA is only used in 3D printing. It's hardly ever used in any other application.
Okay.
And then, now, obviously, when you're working with higher engineered plastics, like PETs, nylons, and ABS, you also have to deal with like moisture, because because you got to think about this when you're running plastic through a hot extruder. If there's any water molecules in it, that water is going to turn into steam and vapor, and that's going to cause like all kinds of wonderful issues with your hot molten plastic.
Of course.
So, in injection molding, we dry the plastic using hot air dryers.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking to myself, I want to be working with like proper plastics that I can actually send to a recycler and not just throw in the trash can, because at some point I kind of want to be like at least somewhat environmentally conscious. I know I already have a home lab that sucks like 300 some odd watts at idle, so I know I'm not being that efficient, but I at least got to be green somewhere in my life. So I get working on like researching filament dryers, which don't actually dry. At least the majority of them. Now, when you're drying something out, you typically want to get the water out, right?
Yeah.
That makes sense, especially when you're doing evaporative drying, which is running hot air over a thing to steam the water out. Now, the majority of sub $100 filament dryers that I have found have no escape for steam. And the ones that don't have any airflow.
Interesting.
Because they either have fans or they don't have fans. And like, okay.
Interesting.
So if you're wanting to dry your plastic, for any of you that's wanting to get into 3D printing, or if you're in 3D printing, I'm about to teach you something about this, right? When you're drying your plastic, you want air to move and you want steam to escape.
Yes.
Now, in the world
Physics 101.
Physics 101, right? Now, a lot of these filament dryers use Peltier heating devices, which is perfectly acceptable for this application, because you're it's not like you need to run like a jet dryer like what we're using over in injection molding, where we're trying to dry like 2,000 pounds of material at a time. We're just dealing with a single kilogram spool, which It's fine as long as you get that air moving and you can give it a way to get out. Now, a lot of these companies try to run a very low grade Peltier heating device, which means that they which means that if they just blow air and just let it all escape, the Peltier device cannot run hot enough to generate air that's warm. So what they do is
I
they
thought
have
so.
So what they do is they have a recycling air system.
Yeah.
Now, the issue is steam.
Yes.
Theoretically, these dryers do actually work, but they don't work well because there's no way to get the water vapor out of the dryer.
Exactly.
Which means that as soon as you shut the dryer off, guess what? Your plastic's wet again.
Yeah.
So I went down a rabbit hole of just looking at these. Now, bear in mind, I'm not an engineer. I'm just a guy that has a lot of experience working directly in a very similar field to this. So I'm looking through these dryers through like that scope and that lens. And it takes me a little bit, but I found like a filament dryer made by Polymaker, which is more or less a filament manufacturer. I'm like, okay, so if they're a filament manufacturer, they probably actually know how to make a dryer. And they have one called the Poly Dryer that I also have linked in the show notes. And it is just barely acceptable for the price you pay.
Wow.
Because guess what? It does have a way to vent out the moisture. It also has one heck of a fan to go with its Peltier heater. So
Yeah.
it does its job. It also relies quite heavily on silica gel packets.
Of course.
Yeah, which the majority of them do, yes, because if you can't get the steam to escape, you have the silica gel to also absorb the moisture, which I'm fine with. But one thing that I'm really particularly happy about is that it has a built-in hydrometer that works on a battery system, so I can just unplug. So actually, no, I can't grab it out right now because I got it hooked up. But I can actually take like the top part that the box that the filament is in and separate it from like a separate drying unit, and still be able to see like the moisture temperature inside the box, which is convenient. And it seems to relatively actually hold a dry time particularly well, because yesterday I used it to dry down a spool of PETG or PETG, because I've seen PET, but I've never seen PETG, which
Isn't
apparently
PETG
is
used for bottles?
PET is.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
PET is a food safe material, and it realistically, the only reason why you add the G to PETG is to make the plastic more flexible.
Oh, I remember. I believe PETG were the old bottles.
Yeah, PETG is the old style bottles, but the newer ones are just PET.
Yes. Yeah.
Which, that's fine. The issue is you have to convince your PET recycler that PETG is literally the same thing. It just has glycol in it. That's what
Yeah.
the G is. It's glycol. The only reason why they put glycol in that filament mixture is because PET is actually a very brittle material. It's rigid, yes, but it's also brittle, which means that it can break if you bend it. They want to wind this up into a spool, right? So they put glycol in it so that way it's flexible to an extent, which is fine. The issue is that you've got to convince your recycler that it's actually fine. It's not a contaminant. If anything, it might make the PET slightly weaker, but only slightly. So, I have also been picking up FreeCAD a lot lately, and FreeCAD, since I've used it, has reached version 1.0, which is cool because it hit the magical version 1.0, which means that now enterprises have an excuse to use FreeCAD in production, which I can see why they don't. Because heaven forbid, there is no good one-stop solution for CAD software, no matter what operating system platform you use, whether it be Fusion, OpenSCAD, FreeCAD, Onshape, I think is like a popular one nowadays, SketchUp and whatever. They all suck at something. So it's really just pick a piece of CAD software, learn it, use it until you can't find something that it encounters. Then you do what you can in that one, export it as a .step file preferably, and then import that into your other CAD into the CAD software that actually does the thing properly. That's literally an actual engineering use case.
Well,
Thankfully for what I'm currently doing, FreeCAD is acceptable enough.
now, Josh, I have an ask for you.
Yeah.
Can we move on, please?
Yeah, we can probably move on.
Yeah, we have a couple of topics to discuss still, and let's not waste it all on Josh's rant about 3D printers. So,
yeah.
so apparently, based on what I'm seeing here from the article from Windows Central, Google is apparently building the Android PC and phone convergence platform that Microsoft failed to deliver with Windows. Qualcomm calls it incredible.
Yeah, Quantum calls it incredible.
Qualcomm, not
I've heard
Quantum.
some people say that this is innovating. Which Bigpod, I was around when Ubuntu 16.04 was came out.
Yeah.
I remember all the talking points that Canonical was putting out. They were mentioning this thing called convergence almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And they actually had a relatively solid project plan. It just never really hit like actual fruition.
Yeah.
Because the phone failed, the TV was a hack job, and Unity 7 could only go so far.
Yeah.
So
that was a big thing. But apparently, Google is building a unified Android platform which will run not only on your smartphone but also on your PC and probably other things. Remember, that's the only like customer-facing computer type that Android doesn't run on. You have Android
yeah,
TV, you have
yeah,
Android tablets, Android smartwatches, Android smartphones,
Android
Android.
TVs,
Yeah, I mentioned it.
Android car stereos.
Yes, Android CarPlay is the thing, or whatever it's called. Android
No,
Auto.
not just Android Auto, but like actual Android
Yeah, also
OS
that. Yes.
running as the head
Yes.
unit operating system because cheap Chinese companies want to give you more toys to distract you while you're driving.
So the only one that like you can really think of that they haven't done for Android yet is Android for PC. And we did hear a bit ago that the Android and Chrome OS are combining together, and I guess that is this. It's all
Which
gonna be Android, probably. Apparently,
I
looks
think
like.
ultimately I think this is a good thing for Google because it gives them
Yeah.
less overhead for like operating system product support. Instead, they can just take full advantage of that already running Linux kernel, make the
Yeah.
glorious decades of experience put into x86 architecture support for it,
Yeah.
and they can just put it on a PC. Like, the Android x86 project does exist.
Yeah.
So they're probably going to be taking some inspiration from that. I haven't looked to see if the Android x86 project has a response to this. Probably should have done that before the show. But
Well,
I'm
if
certain that there's going to be
Qualcomm is
some.
involved, it's probably gonna be primary ARM.
Yeah,
Since
which
Qualcomm is involved.
that does make sense because Android at this point has decades of support built for ARM devices,
Yeah.
which something that we don't really have comparatively from like Linux or even Windows.
Yeah. Well, one problem I foresee is application support, because I definitely ain't gonna be using uh, those Android applications on my desktop. Like, I, and of course I won't be because I'm a Linux user. But like, even when I'm using my Samsung DeX, I I have a problem using even a browser made for Android, much as something
Yeah.
that doesn't have any kind of tablet-based form factor version.
Well,
So
like
yeah.
even Android on the tablet is disappointing. But Android with a mouse and keyboard is disappointing on a whole nother level.
Well, I
I
find
have
tablet Android
messed around.
quite good.
Yeah, if you, but the issue is that the majority of Android tablets that I've messed around with have been kind of lower spec, admittedly,
Yes, you need to
which
buy
that
yourself
is
a
a problem.
Samsung high-end tablet
Yeah,
for have a good tablet
yeah,
experience.
which I don't think is something that I should have to do. But it turns out that
Yeah.
it also just turns out that like some of the tablet versions of like these apps are also just kind of worse. Lighted, I like how YouTube did like the tablet version of their app. That
Yeah.
was they had some really cool ideas there that later got ported to like the phone app and even influenced like the desktop web page a little bit.
Or
But
maybe it could just be that I'm used to Samsung tablets, because I remember back in the many years ago when tablets even like were first a thing, we had a low end Samsung tablet and it was quite okay.
yeah, Android on low end devices used to be perfectly fine. Nowadays though, oh my goodness.
Well, yeah.
Uh, like uh, I have a Google Pixel 7 right here, and I have ran into like limitations with this smartphone. Lighted. This is a Pixel device. They're all relatively powerful for like their given generation. But I have ran out of memory on this phone just watching YouTube.
Yeah. Uh, Google is apparently planning to bring the full Android AI stack along with Android apps and developer community to these new Android PCs.
Okay, so they're gonna have a
And
Gemini button.
yes,
Okay.
and Qualcomm CEO Cristiano Amon said about the project that it delivers on the vision of convergence of mobile and PC. Interesting.
Right. So my question is, how deep down the convergent pipeline are they going to be? Because Ubuntu was advertising, or like Canonical was advertising way back in the day, that you could just plug your phone into like a USB port on your computer, and you would just immediately have desktop. Are they
Yeah,
going that far? Are we getting the Samsung Dex Dream?
I don't know.
You don't know.
Maybe
I don't know
maybe
either.
they're gonna have maybe they're actually gonna do a proper thing and actually have a computer environment for your phone. But I have a feeling it's just gonna be same operating system across phone
It's
and
gonna be the same
desktop.
operating system, maybe a different style of desktop interface.
Yes, but
Yeah.
the point more is that you can use same app on different device, on a desktop and on a uh, on a phone device.
Yeah, that's also true. So I think that ultimately this could be an interesting option because realistically, uh, Windows on ARM sucks, and
Yeah,
Linux on ARM is probably better for Windows for like application support. But at the same time, it's a Linux desktop, and people just that idea alone just like turns people off. So if they see something like the Android brand name on a computer on a retail store shelf, they might actually be willing to buy that.
Yeah.
Which kind of sucks, but like I have to admit that it is true.
But
So
maybe this will actually make Windows innovate. And maybe
that
it will
is
actually
true.
push Linux desktops forward a bit as well.
That's true, because if it sucks, that can only be a good thing.
Yeah.
So let's
The
move on.
big problem is that I see that this essentially will fill the same space as Chrome OS. I don't see, for
Which
most people, like just using the browser essentially, which yes, a lot of people use that. Like at the end of the day, I can use an app and I'm okay because I have a computer somewhere else does all the heavy lifting. I don't need a full Linux laptop for my work. But like the problem I see is that I think it's gonna have exact same connotation attached to it.
that is true, because Chrome OS started out legit started out where it was just Chrome, and realistically,
Yeah.
that's it. Which probably for the majority of people was probably fine, but that's how it got marketed by all the reviewers and so on.
Yeah.
They would say, "Oh yeah, it's just a Chrome," and so people have that connotation with the Chrome OS and Chromebooks in general. Where it's like, I don't want to buy a computer that's basically just a dedicated web browser.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, you just use a web browser, but okay. Which kind of frustrates me because I still have a stepfather who recently he needed to buy a new computer, so I went out and we went computer shopping, and he didn't want a Chromebook, which I'll be honest with you, not my first choice of computer for him, but it was it was probably the best option for like the price range that he was wanting to spend, which was $200 on a computer.
Yeah.
So he wasn't going to get anything special anyway. And I'm like, okay.
He probably would have gotten better hardware.
He would have gotten better hardware, but at the end of the day, we settled on a Windows computer where I had to set up Microsoft Edge, which is not my most favorite web browser, but it came with the computer. So I set up Microsoft Edge to default to the Google homepage,
Of course.
which I then had to download and set up as a PWA, because that's apparently one thing that Edge can do relatively well. It can generate PWAs. So I generated a PWA for Google, another one for Facebook, and another one for eBay, because those are the only 3 sites that he visits. I also removed every single icon from the taskbar and just had those 3. Because that's all he uses.
So why not a tablet?
And I guarantee you, Windows Update's going to put extra things on there, and I'm going to have to go there and fix it again, because he's going to call me and he's going to say, "Oh, I keep hitting this button, but it's pulling up this thing called Candy Crush."
Why not a tablet?
He just doesn't want a tablet.
Okay.
He knew what he wanted. He wanted a computer. He didn't want a laptop, didn't want a phone, didn't want a tablet. He wanted a computer. And he's also 87 years old, so at some point just settle with it. Just buy him what he's asking for, because heaven forbid you're only going to know him for at most the next 10 years.
Yeah. I bought my parents a tablet, and that's all they use. They don't have a laptop, they don't have a desktop, they just have a tablet.
Yeah.
All they need.
Lighted. Another thing is that he also happens to live in an area where there is no internet at all. Which setting up Windows without an internet connection was kind of interesting.
Pain in the ass.
Yeah, secretly a pain in the ass, but I managed to figure it out by reinstalling Windows on it.
Yeah. Well,
So-
let's go on to the next news, and I will skip this AI segment for a more EU-centric eccentric of EU asks Apple, Google, Microsoft what they're doing to tackle financial scams.
Right. So, Bigpod, we don't know their response. This article doesn't go into that detail. So we can only
We just learned
realistically,
that they asked them.
yeah, we can only speculate on this. What do
Yeah.
you think that Apple is doing to prevent financial scams on macOS?
Nothing. Probably in Safari they have safe browsing enabled. If they do, I don't know. I don't use macOS.
I mean, they probably
And
have
that's
like
all
some
they
kind
have.
of filtered list.
Yeah, they're
Going
probably using
through
safe
whatever.
browsing.
Yeah,
That's
safe
the
browsing. Yep.
standard list. And probably
Yeah.
they have some checking. And that's it.
Right. Now, Booking.com is an interesting thing, which is a website that you can book hotel rooms with.
Yeah, yes,
And
it's mostly European centric, I think.
yeah, it has it's quite prevalent here in the U.S. as well.
Yeah, but as far as I know,
But
it's European. So
yeah, now, I don't know what they mean by financial scam in regards to booking a hotel room. I mean, obviously, like
my guess is people like actual like people scamming by because I think you can also do like apartments on there, like short-term rental apartments, and
okay,
like
that
things
would make sense.
like if you
You
want
know,
to rent, let's say, kind of like Airbnb essentially for you
yeah,
American people. That the short-term rental thing is like a normal thing here in Europe, decades now. You just call a person, and I guess Booking.com also has like a you could rent, let's say, a lower floor of a house or their weekend home for a weekend, for example.
yeah. Now, I guess maybe if they didn't clean up after the previous tenant and previous tenant left like a mess or
Yeah,
something,
or
that could
just
be
in
considered
general,
like a
somebody
scam.
posting a picture of a of let's
A,
say a
a
house
wonderful,
and saying this rents for 70, 80 euros a day or like 150 or something, and you know yeah, they will get there and they'll see nothing is there, or
yeah,
some random
it might be
family
an
will
empty
open the
lot.
house
Yeah,
and they will go, oh no, does that money get to the scammer already, or does it wait? That's probably what they want to know, if they have like an escrow system.
right. That would make sense. I hope that Booking.com just happens to have something like that
Yeah.
right away. And then we got Google and Microsoft. Google, it's probably just gonna be based off like search results, because heaven
Yeah.
forbid,
Or again
I get
Chrome. Or again
or
Chrome.
Chrome.
Safe browsing.
Maybe now Google does maintain like 4 different operating systems. So, and I know
Yes.
that I get all kinds of offers via the wonderful method of communication technology that we still use here in the U.S. called SMS.
Yeah.
So I'm not getting any, this could be fraud messages on there, but
Yeah.
maybe one of these days I might. Microsoft, I know they make Windows.
Yeah.
Obviously, Windows is used extensively in the financial sector, because heaven forbid you gotta use that Outlook. It has to be Outlook or nothing else.
Okay, so they do have further down on the page they have explanation of what they're thinking as uh, online financial scams. Such online scams, ranging from fake hotel listings and fraudulent banking apps to deepfakes of public figures promoting false investments, cost Europeans more than 4 billion euros annually, said European EU Tech Chief Hena Verkonen. Sorry if I butchered your name. My guess Finnish, so I could be Verkonen. I don't know. I'm not exactly good on Finnish. I guess Finnish. I could check if I really wanted to.
Yeah, I live in the American Midwest. I'll speak my own version of English, and I will pronounce your name however I can think to pronounce it. So I apologize, but that's just how we say it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so fraudulent banking apps, that's understandable. Lighted, Google is very open. Compared to, like, Apple, is very open with what you can publish on the Play Store.
Yeah.
So, obviously, we have seen lots of wonderful apps show up there with, being malware kits, root kits, and so on.
Yeah.
So, I'm very curious as to what Google's response is going to be for this. It's probably not going to be favorable for them because, heaven forbid, the EU has been very hard on Google this year, just alone.
Yeah. And guess what?
As for
This is also an AI topic apparently, because the rise of AI could make consumers more vulnerable to scams such as phishing and fraudulent investment schemes. And
Yeah.
apparently, online fraud can start very easily nowadays, and too often results in financial loss for customers.
I mean, because it's getting easier than ever to just spend money.
Yeah.
It's surprisingly getting harder to receive money, but it's
Yeah.
easier to spend money,
Yeah.
which I find interesting.
Well, and because I think money is the right segue, let's talk about, apparently Apple might be in investor into Intel.
Well, realistically, this is Intel asking Apple if Apple is willing to give
Wanna be
Intel
an
money.
investor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Which I don't really understand unless Intel's like offering like patent or licensing exemptions for Apple, because the one thing that Intel has that is like their key selling thing is all of the patents that they hold for
Yeah.
just CPU architecture in general.
Yeah.
I'm not
and
talking about
I'm
specifically
gonna be-
x86.
Yeah, and also the ARM ARM things they own. But like the most funny thing is there is literally zero connection these days between Apple and Intel. Actually, going as far to say there is zero connection between them,
Yeah,
because they don't even use uh, Intel Intel communication chips. They don't use Intel CPUs, Intel GPUs anywhere in their stacks. So, like this is like they went hard on Apple went hard on divorcing from Intel essentially. So now Intel asking them to be an investor into the company. That's interesting, but I do think there is a reason they could invest.
Yeah, there could be because
Beyond just patents and technology. There is one
it's
thing
because
that
Intel
has that Apple might sorely need in future.
fabrication technology.
Exactly. Fabrication space.
Yeah, that too. Heaven forbid, they are still building that chip plant, like not even 50
Yes.
miles away from me.
But yeah, like
that has been confirmed. They are continuing
fabrication
to build
space.
that, which is good.
Yeah, that is actually really good. But
Yep.
like
So
so that they have space on the fabrication line for CPUs, GPUs, semiconductors. That could be really good for Apple and Intel, because at the end of the day they will have a customer for their fab business.
that is true. And honestly, let's be honest here. When Intel's doing good, the entire technology space in general does good. Like actually, you can look at like the Intel stock price versus compared to like everything else that's going on, not just financial in the technology space. And when Intel is doing good, everybody else is doing particularly good. Well, obviously right now Intel's not doing particularly well, and we can see like the downgrade of everything else going on, like with all of the AI investment and everything. Now,
Yeah.
here's a fun fact for you, Bigpod. Did
What?
you know that Intel is actually still a profitable company?
Yeah, I could believe that.
Right? Intel is still profitable. The only thing that's going down for them is the stock price.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
Which I
And,
find wild.
well, remember, data centers still need to buy chips. And it's not gonna be
That's true.
just AMD chips because, again, because AMD might not be able to get enough chips from TSMC to make for
Well,
these
here's the fun fact for you,
providers.
Bigpod. Here's a fun fact for you. I can call like a hardware vendor, and I can ask if they have an AMD if they have an AMD server that I could just buy, and I'd be put on a waiting list.
Yeah.
I can buy an Intel server and get it the next day.
Yeah.
It's not because Intel's doing that bad, or AMD is doing that well. It's purely because Intel can actually still produces enough chips that they can actually get the hardware out because they're not reliant on that TSMC chip schedule.
Yes. Although they will
Lighted-
be more reliant on it in future, I believe, especially for video cards,
Yeah,
the GPUs,
which
but that could
I
also
get-
change. And it
that
also makes
could-
sense for them to do that.
yeah, it makes sense for them to use whatever resources are available
Yes.
to them.
Yeah.
That just makes sense because heaven forbid, Intel's really good at making CPUs. I mean, maybe not recently, but historically they've been really good at just making the CPU. Like I can buy an Intel CPU and it will just straight up work. They've done an
Exactly.
excellent job with that. Like if there's anything I'm happy about the x86 duopoly, I'm happy that the products work as advertised.
Yeah.
And they are probably the most reliable pieces of electronic technology that we currently have these days. Because the CPU still works just like a CPU. It still works just as efficiently as it ever has.
Yeah.
Can't really say that about too many other pieces of technology, including
Right.
operating systems.
Unlike GPUs have been going up in usage, in price, in power. Yes, you also get a lot more compute out of them, but you get also a lot more money to pay for them and a lot more electricity to be used. Whereas CPUs still gain power, but price and energy usage remains somewhat the same.
If anything, if the last couple generations are anything to tell, the energy generation, the performance per watt value of the CPU is way better than a GPU.
Yeah. Well, this Apple Intel news comes days after Nvidia announced it would invest $5 billion in Intel for roughly 4% stake in company.
Right. Now, they've also received investments from Softbank, which, if you've listened to our show before, Softbank does own ARM.
Yes.
So, we've got that going on. We can literally see, these multiple industry players also investing into Intel. Because,
Yeah.
Intel is one of those companies that I really think, just generally, probably should not fail. But at the same time, the only thing that they're failing in is stock price. But we all know that the stock market is completely disconnected from actual reality. So
Yes, many times is more of hype than actual what is happening with the companies.
yeah. So anyways, we're already going a little bit long on the show here, so we're just going to go ahead and wrap it up here. So, Bigpod, we have not gotten any emails, and I'm sad about it.
Yeah.
But we have had people talk to us in the Discord. So, but ultimately, if you're going to be sending us a very long worded message, send it to us in the email by sending it to contact@tuxbase.com. That's an email. I know it works because we still get our monthly check-in email from Cloudflare to it.
Yeah.
So, it worked a couple weeks ago. It should probably work again here in a couple weeks at least. But, I would still appreciate if, somebody sent us an email, just telling us that, hey, or just asking us, does this thing work? Because heaven forbid, sometimes I'm concerned about it. But of course, if you would like to, use more modern day technologies like this whole Discord thingy majigger, you can go to tuxbase.com/discord, join our Discord group, chat with us there. Bigpod has been more active in the Discord lately than I have. Sorry. But, sometimes we can just sit there and chat. Like, if you just hop in a voice channel and I see you there, I might just hop in. Who knows? Of course, our podcast is hosted by us and nobody else. So, we are doing this podcast the hard way. As, the stereotypical listener is reminded. We literally run our podcast out of a server that we rent out of somebody else's closet.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah, essentially. So, obviously, it's cheap for now, but it's not free. So, in order to help us cover, the cost of our hosting, you can go to patreon.com/notuxallowed. Drop us a couple dollars there. In exchange, you're going to get a higher bitrate audio feed because heaven forbid there's an audio file in our audience. I know you're there. There's a reason why I have these Sennheiser headphones and this Audio Technica microphone. It's just for you. You're welcome. You might also have in that same feed access to some other things that we do. Sometimes it's a pre-show. Sometimes it could be just us randomly uploading the audio on there with us ranting about something. Like maybe Bigpod decides that he's going to troubleshoot his DHCP system on his network. And he's going to hop in there and complain about the fact that he accidentally set everything on a VLAN. Maybe.
Yeah.
Or, Josh could talk about the trials and tribulations that he goes through with, his current distro of choice being Arch Linux. Because, there's always a story with me and Arch Linux.
Yeah.
Heaven forbid, Pac-Man is currently doing that thing again where it absolutely cannot communicate with the mirror. But I can tell that the mirror is online because I can ping it. But if I try to get that Pac-Man to download, it gives me a 404 message.
Great.
But the mirror's there. I can go to the mirror and I can download the package from the mirror and tell Pac-Man to install it locally.
Yeah.
Which I find interesting. But there's also issues going on with Arch Linux too, with them being DDoS. So I'm not gonna complain and say that hey, Pac-Man is broken, because heaven forbid it might not be. Maybe they're still having networking issues. Maybe. But anyways, Bigpod, you have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/@bigpod. You can find me at youtube.com/@10leej. We've also got our own Mastodon services, which is our social media service of choice, because heaven forbid, I like Mastodon. Bigpod, you like Mastodon enough to host your own instance. I don't know if it's working or not, because I don't see you post very often on it. Yeah. Most of the time it's broken. We've talked about this before. Also, No Tux Allowed is a member of the Tuxbase Media Group. It's an actual group. It exists. And we have a license on this show now that I am applying retroactively to every single previous episode of No Tux Allowed. We are now Creative Commons BYSA 4.0.
Okay.
Just letting you know. I have a link for that license document in the show notes if anybody ever wants to read it. And so, Bigpod, I think we're set up and good to go for an episode here. Good luck editing, and I'm going to see you out, because heaven forbid, it's getting quite warm in here.
Yeah. Goodbye.